Well, good almost afternoon, everybody. It's Chris here from the Whistle Stop Cafe in Mirror, Alberta. I would like to take a moment to thank whoever it is over at the Rise of Alberta for these amazing videos and memes that we've been experiencing for the last little while. If you're interested in more of that kind of thing, you can find it right up there. That's the Rise of Alberta. Scan that with your phone and you'll find a link right to their page. Absolutely fantastic material. Please don't sue me for using your video that you made from someone else's video. I'm not sure how that works, but anyway, yeah, awesome stuff. Thanks to whoever is doing it. Today we have another social media podcaster influencer guest who has recently been quite prominent on Facebook, at least where I've seen. His reels are always they're thought provoking and they're common sense. He's not yelling or being boisterous or anything like that. He's just asking questions and being a somebody interested in these topics. And it really caught my eye when he started talking about Alberta independence, because of course Alberta independence is that's I'm all about that, as you can see from the hat and the sweater and some of the stuff in the background. Even my friend Kerry there, he agrees as well. He's on board with Alberta independence. So I reached out to him and I wanted to bring him on. And this is kind of a continuation of a somewhat of a series. I've been really interested in how individuals started to take over from the mainstream or legacy media. What we're seeing these days is people like me or people like Adam, who I'm about to bring on, or Alberta Proud Dad, or and many others. They have more views than the news does these days. And I think it's because people are sick of the news lying to them. They're sick of the fakeness. They're sick of the wokeness, and they want to hear real stuff, real questions, and real answers coming from real people. And that's what we're getting with folks like Adam and the Army of Great Men podcast. I'm actually going to pop that up on the QR code thing right now. So if you check that out, that QR code there, that is the Army of Great Men YouTube channel. Check it out, but don't check it out yet, because I'm going to bring him on right now. Hey, Adam, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me. That's a great intro. That's awesome. Beautiful.
Well, yeah, of course. I obviously you heard the intro. I've been, and we've talked about this a bit before. I've been super interested when I see guys on doing lives and taking time to produce content and stuff like that that's based on truth and reality. And you go a little bit deeper. Even you're talking about the political things, some societal things, but you also delve into the spiritual aspect of some stuff, and you kind of look at it from a bit of a different angle. So I think it's fantastic, and I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, the whole idea behind the Army of Great Men, it was originally designed to help men get strong in every way. And it's, physically, emotionally, financially, and spiritually. And people forget about the spiritual part, right? Like you see everybody, everybody's a fitness guru or this or that. And I'm far from that, but I don't know that you can really say that you are, your feet are firmly planted on the ground if you don't have a connection to something bigger than you. And so, I try not to be too preachy about it. I'm not, that's the last person that I am, but I do try to encourage people to seek that out in whatever path that fits them, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's important, and we're we are living in a time where men are, we're kind of cast aside as a relic of the past, and we need to change, and masculinity is toxic, and men shouldn't be strong. It's a really weird time we're living in, and so it's cool to see people that are focused on helping men do the things we're supposed to do, which is we're supposed to be the ones that do the heavy lifting. We're supposed to be the ones that sacrifice first, those types of things, the hard things. And we see a mainstream and a woke left that really just hates that. Dude, why do you think that is?
But it's really simple, Chris. If you want to take over any society, there's two things you do. First thing you do is you disconnect them from God. Second thing you do is you neuter the men. Make the men weak, disconnect them from God. You can do anything you want. Who's going to stand up to you? Right? Yeah, that's the simplest answer. And it's working, right? Like it's really, really working. I've done a lot of research through conversations and, just getting out there and it's not hard to see how they're doing it. It's actually really simple. It starts right when kids are, in those formative years, right? I don't care if you're talking about a 5-year-old, all the things that they do, you and I think are roughly the same age, sort of mid-40s, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
When you and I grew up, our coaches were hard on us. Our teachers were hard on the boys, right? Teachers were hard on the boys. They were, and girls were they were our flowers, and we were more gentle with the girls and harder on the boys. And that was expected because they knew that that's what it would take to turn us into strong men. Little girls got tough back then because other little girls are mean, right? Like girls are mean, like they just are. Teenage girls are, and this isn't a shot at women. Every woman listening to this right now will go, yeah, little girls are mean. So, but now what they've done is they've decided that it's not right to be hard on the boys, right? You need to coddle them. It starts from, you can't keep score in their Timbit soccer game because, little Bobby's feelings going to get hurt if he loses 11-1, he's never going to recover from that. Could you imagine losing a soccer game 11-1? They'd never recover.
Yeah.
When they get into school, you're not allowed to fail a kid. You're not allowed to punish a kid for being late with an assignment. Like all those things. And so as a result, like they're just raising a generation of little boys they're just wimpy, and young men that are wimpy. And then little girls now, they're meaner than they were before. So that, the women that are growing up, they're probably tougher than they've ever been. And now these young women that are, they're in their mid-20s and they're looking for a partner in life, and they're just looking around and they're going like, who do I pick? There's nobody here. I do think though that young men are waking up to the errors in the way that they were raised. And I think you saw it with, the way that guys like Charlie Kirk were able to reach people, the votes that conservatives are getting from young men now. I mean, every election cycle, they seem to be getting higher and higher and higher. They're waking up to it, but there's still a lot of damage that needs to be undone in that regard in order to help young men get strong. And if they don't, like, we're sunk. Like it's
yeah, it's affecting a lot. It's affecting the workforce. And as you were describing that, it reminded me of a video that my friend Tiana did a little while ago, talking about some of the men that she works with on her site. I'm going to take a moment. I'm just going to pop it up on the screen. We'll watch it together. Sure. It's pretty good.
Oh, there's no sound.
Kids, you screwed up bad. This is a PSA to all the parents who gentle parented their kids. You screwed up bad. You're horrible parents. And this is also a very good learning lesson to hit your kids a little bit, just a little bit, like not a lot, but like discipline them. You know what I mean? Because now I'm having to work with your gentle parented little crotch goblin on site. And it is painful. And I'm not saying all Gen Z kids are like this, but the iPad kids, the ones who are gentle parented, 100% are all delayed in their development stages of talking to another human being, because this is how they answer the phone. That's it. There's no hello, nothing. Or if you ask them to do something, they just stare at you, right? Like, it's so frustrating. Like this one kid, I was like, hey, can you go do this? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then he just stops and stares at me. And I'm like, are you okay? Are you having a medical emergency right now? Like, is this a seizure, a heart attack? Like, what's happening? No. I'm like, okay. Like, did you understand what I just asked you to do? Like, did I ask you to do something outside of your scope of knowledge or training or anything? Like, do you have questions? No.
It gets better. It gets much better, but that's kind of in a nutshell.
It's true. It's true. And so like she's talking about some of the surface issues that get there, the deeper issues when you raise a generation of people who are told that anything hard is something you need to run from, any adversity is somehow bad. Then when they become adults and they actually face real adversity, they have no idea what to do with it. Like they have no clue. And so the catalyst for the Army of Great Men is life hit me pretty hard in January of 2023. I was hit with a surprise divorce. My mom was dying at the same time. Sort of, both things were happening at once. And it was a really dark period. And then I was actually doing some pretty interesting therapy, which, we may or may not talk about here today. I was doing some really interesting therapy. And in that therapy, I realized how lucky that I was to have men around me who could show me the path to get out of the ditch, right? They could show me the path to say, look, I know you're in pain right now. I'm going to teach you how to use that pain to level up and do this. And so they did. And then through that, I was reflecting on some of the other people that I know who never recovered from when life hit them. One of our friends from Saskatchewan, his girlfriend broke up with him and he died. He literally drank himself to death. He didn't know what else to do. And it's a symptom of society. It's a result of what happens when you teach people that things that are hard are bad. And so the initial impetus for the Army of Great Men was I wanted to pay back some of the lessons that I learned from the great men around me, so that I didn't have to hear stories about my friend in Saskatchewan who died from a breakup. And it sounds crazy, right? Like if you've never experienced pain like that, you might think, oh, like, what are you talking about? I'm telling you, like, I thought when my dad died, I thought that was the hardest thing I was ever going to go through. It was nothing compared to this, nothing. That make me sound wimpy, but it's not. Like you go through it, and guys don't talk about it. So, it's that's sort of what started it.
So that was the kind of forging process that had you come out and start the Army of Great Men podcast?
That's how it started. Yeah. And so, I started thinking, maybe I can start telling these stories and sharing some of the wisdom that I was given. And so I did that for quite a while, and then, it wasn't really working. And your rise to fame and, what you did. I mean, you had a meteoric rise in the way that you went. Most podcasters and most Instagram influencers, they don't have that. It takes, it's a long, slow process. And so I'm doing this over and over and over again. And I'm a Christian, praying to God every day. I was saying the prayer of Jabez every day. Do you know the prayer of Jabez?
No.
Okay. It's basically, you're asking God to expand your territory so that you can expand his, right? Help me grow my reach, my wealth, my everything. And then I'm going to use that to show people what you can do. That's basically what the prayer is. And and by the way, I'm not a church going Christian. There's a few things about the church that sort of drive me a little nuts. And so I've been doing my own work and figuring it out. But a great friend of mine who I work with in my day job, my friend Art, he's a former pastor. And he invited me to the Easter service last year. It was 2025. Sorry, it was this year. It was Easter of this year. And sorry, it's a crazy story. I'll try not to get emotional when I tell it. So there's these big tubs of water on stage, and I go, oh, what's this about? Like, I haven't been to church in 100 years, and I'm looking at this going, what's this about? And then turns out they're going to be baptizing people at Easter. And they're sort of calling people up and doing this, and people are one by one getting out there. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, like, am I going to do this? Like, I didn't prepare for this. I didn't bring any clothes. I can't go get a thing of water. And the pastor at the front of the stage goes, so right now you're probably thinking, well, I didn't bring any dry clothes. I can't do that. I think, oh, crap. Yeah. And then he's like, it's like he's reading my mind. And then the next thought I had was, well, I said, geez, I don't think if I'm going to do this, I'd like my friends to be here. So I turned to Art and I said, hey, Art, do they do this every week? And he's like, no. This is like a couple times a year. I said, oh. And then the pastor says, so right now you're probably thinking, geez, I'd like my friends to be here when I'm doing this. And then honest to God, every excuse that popped into my head, the pastor would say it right off the bat. And it was like, yeah, do you really think your friends are going to care that they're here? They're just going to be happy that you did it. Oh yeah, I guess so. And so I'm standing there next to my girlfriend and my great friend Art. And then this thought comes into my head, and it was, look, Adam, you've been praying this prayer like every day. You've been saying the prayer of Jabez every single day, over and over and over and over and over. But you're not committing. Like, maybe this isn't happening because maybe you haven't done enough. Maybe you haven't like taken the step to actually prove you're all in with this. And I went, oh yeah, crap. Okay. Yeah, you're right. So I kissed my girlfriend on the cheek, didn't say a word, just went to the back of the room, got in the line to get changed into my trunks and all the stuff. And off I went. Well, then right before I'm about to get up on stage, I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's my friend Art. And he goes, hey, can I baptize you? And I was like, what? You can do that? And he goes, yeah, I can do that for sure. He's like, it'd be my honor. Can I do it with you? And I was like, yes, let's go. So like, I thought I was going to church. I didn't know this was going to happen. Left, baptized, committed myself, did the thing, left. Just as I'm getting out of the tub, this is a little aside, just as I'm getting out of the tub, this lady's like, Art, wait. And he's like, what? She goes, you have one more. And he didn't know, but his daughter was standing right behind me, and he got to baptize her next too. She was ready.
Oh, wow.
And so what was interesting is prior to that, like I think the biggest, and like, look, I'm telling you this because I want to show the power of this prayer. I'm not one of those guys who like talks about their numbers on Instagram, or like, I don't care. I just hope that I'm helping somebody, right? So I don't think I'd ever had a reel with more than 500 views ever. I was at like 600 followers. I'm putting out content that I thought was good. It's reaching nobody. Nobody cares. It's not hitting them. After I got baptized, I didn't put anything out for like a week. I put like my little video of getting baptized up there. And so like some friends and family could see it. The next video I put out, it was like maybe a week or two later, gets 50,000 views.
Wow.
The one after that was 100,000 views. And then they just started going and going and going and going. And then my account, I went from 600 followers to like 80,000 in like 2 weeks.
What the heck?
It went crazy. And now like it's still growing. Like it's just gone nuts. And now like, so then you think about it, I'm like, okay, what was I praying for? I was praying for my reach. I was praying to help me so I can help you, God. Like, let's work together on this. And it wasn't working until I committed. And then once I committed, it just goes, pew. It was crazy.
Yeah, that comes back to the faith without works is dead kind of thing. Faith without the commitment or the declaration is all but useless.
Exactly. And since then I've met some really interesting people. I've had some fascinating conversations. I'm sure you're the same way when you get pretty humbled when you bring on some of these guests and you're like, I can't believe I'm talking to this person. And yeah, it's been a fascinating journey for sure. And it also gives you greater awareness. When you talk about the Alberta Prosperity Project and Alberta separation and what's at stake in Canada, what's at stake in the world. And everybody thinks that, like, the people who oppose this, like, you get the guy in Toronto who's chirping you and calling you a traitor and this and that. They think this is about oil and gas. They think that we are trying to separate. It's all about oil and gas. And it's like, no, I'm not sure oil and gas crack. I'm a big oil and gas guy. I'm not sure it cracks my top 10 reasons of why I think we need to do this and what's at stake with this. And, to me, the number one reason is the global war that's happening at a spiritual level. And that's really what I think it comes down to.
So your perspective on spirituality and life and doing right, that influenced your decision to support an independent Alberta. Why is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there were a lot of reasons, and I think, I was just talking to someone the other day about this, Chris. Everybody has their line, right? Like as Albertans right now, there's sort of three types of people when it comes to this separation movement. There are already the people who, like, they've decided, like, no, I want out. I'm done. This is done. There's a pretty good chunk that is still undecided, and then there's, of course, the ones that are like, no, never. I'll never ever vote for this.
The answer will always be no. Yeah,
correct. Just like the answer will always be yes. And for those people who've made up their mind, fine. All the people who've already made up their mind, there was a line that was crossed for them. And once that line was crossed, it was like, no, I'm done. Like, you feel betrayed, you feel whatever. You just realize, it's not going to get better. Some people that haven't hit their line yet, right? They just haven't. I think for a lot of people, their line that got crossed was the last federal election when,
Bingo.
we looked at where this country had gone, which area of the country is better than it was 10 years ago, right? Like which province is better, which city is better, which area of government under the government umbrella is better, like unemployment, the economy, the crime rate, like, you name it, like, pick one, show me one that's better, like, show me. And so, we were all thinking, okay, finally, we're going to get some change here, because finally the rest of Canada has woken up to what's happening. And then all they did was change their shirt, right? Like, it's the same cast of characters. It's the same policy. If anything, it's worse now, because, if you're really watching, the guy who's in charge now is just a more intelligent version of the man who had the same agenda before, which makes him far more dangerous in my mind. And so I think for me, that was the final straw. And I think for a lot of other people, it was too. I think that there's a bunch of people in the middle right now who are still looking, holding out hope that it's going to get better, right? The same way when someone is thinking about leaving their job or leaving their marriage or something like that, right? Like, they'll exhaust every possibility that it could get better before they finally pull the pin, right?
Yeah, everything else has to fail first before you go down that path.
Yeah, I mean, like, I fought for my marriage forever, and I'm super grateful for my ex-wife having the courage to do what I would have never done, right? It wasn't a good marriage. And now we're on great terms. I couldn't have done what she did. And even though it put me through pain and hell for a minute, I'm grateful for the pain and hell and where it took me. That's how I look at this potential separation, right? I was the most patriotic Canadian there was. I couldn't even listen to the national anthem without welling up with tears at a hockey game. I couldn't, like, I love what this country was. I can't stand what it's become. And yeah, it's hard to say that out loud. Like, it sucks to say it, but it's
no, I feel that. I've been speaking at Alberta Prosperity Project events since the very beginning. I was at the very first meeting. We met under cover of darkness in a shop in a clandestine fashion, because if the government had caught us meeting and gathering for political purpose at that time, we would have been ticketed or whatever. Actually, I could have probably gone to jail.
Yeah.
And, back then, and even up until about a year ago, when my friend, Dr. Dennis Modry, he would ask the crowd, how many people here want to gain more leverage with the referendum so that we can fix the things so that Alberta can have control of its wealth and affairs, free of interference from Ottawa? And I would put up my hand. I want to be an independent, autonomous Alberta, but I want to stay Canadian. And then he'd ask how many people just want to be out and done with it and have a new independent nation. Some people put up their hand. I was always a within Canada guy. I was always we need the leverage so we can fix these things.
Mm-hmm.
But the farther I've gone and the more I've learned, the more I've come to realize that this isn't about fixing anything, because what we have, it's not broken. It's working exactly the way it was intended to be.
Correct.
We've just seen the consequence of it more vividly now, right? So I totally understand what you're saying. And I really felt that this Remembrance Day. I was at the Remembrance Day ceremony at the Mirror Hall here, and we're singing "Oh Canada" and "God Save the Queen," and it felt different for me. Like it was a little unnerving, and I'm watching the videos, and almost like, well, I'm not going to talk about what I thought that was like, but I'm watching these things, and I'm thinking about the way I felt before. I was in Air Cadets. I participated in lots of these things, and it is not the same. It's completely different right now, and it's like that. Once you see this thing or you hear this thing, you can't unsee it or unhear it, and then you're changed. And you
that's
have
what
to
I mean
deal
about
with that.
Yeah, that's what I mean about the line, right?
Yeah.
Same way, in a marriage, you fight for it, and then you reach a certain point. It's like, this is not savable. We've tried everything. We've tried the ultimatums. We've tried this. It's not getting better. And, I actually think the most discouraging part about all of this is not our government. It's the people that support it. Right. And like, if they can't see what this government is and what they're doing by now, they never will. They never will. I actually did a podcast where I actually broke down the data of Canadian voters and how they vote. And the only reason that these elections ever have a chance of going the Conservatives' direction is because there's 4 left-wing parties in Canada. That's the only reason. If you look at the way that Canada votes, like the Bloc Québécois left, Green Party, I know they don't carry much weight, left, Liberals left, NDP left. The only reason it's even close is because there's a 4-way split of the left-wing vote. And if you think about it, like, look at the risk in Alberta, right? Alberta is a predominantly right-wing province, but if we split the vote, the NDP can win. It's the only way they can win is if we split the vote. They do it all the time, but that's how big their numbers are. So think about it this way, Chris. Do you ever foresee in our lifetime California voting Republican, having 51% vote Republican?
Well, it's I would say it's a snowball's chance in hell, but there are some interesting things happening down there right now, and it's the consequence. It's the reality slapping people in the face for pursuing ideology that's not aligned with reality, right? So
it is.
You never know, but maybe not.
Yeah. So here's something that'll shock you. The voting percentage of Republicans in the United States is higher than the voting percentage of conservatives the voting percentage of Republicans in California is higher than the voting percentage of conservatives in the rest of Canada when you take Alberta and Saskatchewan out of it.
Really?
There's only one state in the US that votes further left than the rest of Canada does, and that's Vermont. And if you take the 10 most left-leaning states, they average 58% vote left. Canada's 61 when you take Alberta and Saskatchewan out of it. And then if you go further, this shows you the divide. This shows you how big the divide is between the way Alberta and Saskatchewan think and the rest of Canada thinks. If you look at the way we vote from a federal perspective, there is no state anywhere that votes further right or left than we vote right. So the rest of Canada is further left than every state but one. And we are further right than anybody votes either way. That's how big the divide is.
That's not a manageable difference in a country this size.
Right.
Know? Like, why would anybody want to continue that relationship?
And that's just it. Like, I get why, if people are awake to things in Quebec and Ontario, I get why they would like us to stay, even though they're going to keep patting us on the head and calling us, dumb little rednecks. It's because we pay them a lot of money every year, right? So I get it why they would do that, but they still can't bring themselves to say they appreciate us. And if you look at our ideological views, like Chris, would you be business partners with someone who had totally 100% completely different values than you do?
I don't even like to buy their products, let alone enter into business with them.
Right. Would you be married with someone or in a romantic relation with someone who looked at the world in exactly the opposite way that you do? No chance.
Yeah, unlikely. Yeah.
And yet we do it every day as a country. Like, what are we doing? This doesn't fit. This is a marriage that is over. We just haven't broken up yet. But it's already done.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We just had some couples therapy and we ended up with a document that was going to benefit both sides. So, I mean, that's good, right?
And that's what a perfect example. And that's the kind of thing that happens in the months that lead up to, yeah, we're done. And this is part of why I appreciate Danielle Smith so much, because what she's doing right now, the job that she's doing right now, the thing that she's doing every single day, she's working harder than any leader we've had since Ralph Klein to get us the best deal possible in Canada. And as hard as she's working, we look at it and we go, yeah, it's still not working. It's still not getting better. The same way when you're trying to, at the end, you're going to therapy and you're trying to save your marriage and you're pulling out all the stops and you're doing everything and you're still like, yeah, we're trying, but we know it's not going to work.
Yeah. And not only that, the family just condemned the relationship as well. Parliament, they wouldn't even agree to, agree on the MOU itself. They said, no, we're never going to do this. Right. And then we have activist MPs standing up and saying the answer is no, it will always be no. Like, they're literally showing us that they're refusing to negotiate, even in good faith. Like, okay, why is the answer no? Can we fix those things? Get past those hurdles and then be prosperous together. Nope, the answer is always no, and it's always going to be no.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people, a lot of conservatives are getting really, really mad about this. Like, they're screaming and yelling. And, we just saw another conservative MP cross the floor. Now they're one person away. And I'm not mad at all. I'm not. The same way a spouse who's walking out the door isn't mad when they're, the things that pissed them off 3 months ago don't make them mad anymore. It's because all it's doing is just making it easier. And the other thing that it's doing is those people where we haven't reached their line yet, we haven't crossed that line in the sand for them yet, we're getting closer, right? And any Canadian conservative who's still holding on to this pipe dream that we're going to see a conservative government again.
What is that? What is that here?
We get a term with the conservatives. The Senate is stacked in the Liberals' favor for at least the next 25 years.
Yeah.
At least the next 25 years.
Yeah. And do we really have, I'm sure there are some truly conservative MPs, but the reality is in Canada, you cannot be a true conservative and agree with the things that Alberta agrees and be the prime minister or the government. And I would say that there's a lot of them are not conservative. Any way you look at it, 3 of them have crossed the floor to join the Liberal Party. One more, and it will happen. One more, and Mark Carney's going to have a majority, and he's going to start passing these bills. One of the bills that they're going to pass is going to make it an available tool to the government will be to jail us or fine us or tell our ISPs to stop allowing us to put out content. I could say, sorry, no balls in women's stalls. My friend Berta says that. And I could go to jail or be fined or shut down for hate speech because I want to protect women.
Yeah. And it's amazing, right? Like the craziest thing about that, Chris, is that there are a lot of people cheering this on. Like, they think this is a good thing because it'll shut, real bad people like you and I up, right? In the UK, there have been 12,000 arrests this year. 12,000 arrests which is almost word for word the same bill around hate speech. People are getting arrested for saying things in private conversations in text.
Yeah.
Right. Like there was just a woman on, there's a story that came out a little while ago. This woman who, her boyfriend beat the crap out of her, and she called him a homophobic slur that starts with F, and she went to prison and he didn't.
Because words are violence.
And just because you say, well, yeah, that's a bad word. Yes, it's a bad word. Right. Sure. It's a bad word. Are we is that where we are at society? And the irony of it all is the people who want this call us fascists. I thought that was the word you're talking about. Yeah. It's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious, their inability to see what's happening. But as it happens, I'm grateful for it, because I would be really upset if they fooled us into thinking this wasn't going to happen until after the referendum. Every time they show their cards, every time they tell us who they are and they show us what they're doing and they show us that this is never going to get better, and we move people closer and closer to that line, it gives us a better chance of winning this referendum. So I'm
So you might
grateful for it.
say,
I don't get mad at all. I'm grateful that every time they show their cards, I'm like, thank you for showing me
yeah,
who you are.
me too. You might say that the federal government in Canada is the best advocate and salesperson for an independent Alberta that we've ever seen.
They're doing a wonderful job for us. They are by far our best campaign manager. By far.
How did you feel? How did you feel this spring when you watched Canada elect another Liberal government after the decades of torture we've endured under them?
It told me for sure that it's never going to change, that people still want more of it. And I think part of it, and I think, going back to what you said earlier, Chris, about how, social media influencers have way more reach than the news does right now.
That's why they want to shut us down.
That's why they want to shut us down, for sure. But it's shocking to me how many people have no idea how the government policies that are being put in place are impacting their lives. Like, I was at the grocery store a couple of weeks ago, and there was this really nice lady behind me. She's probably, 65, 70 years old, sweet lady. And I had a couple of steaks on the conveyor belt at the grocery store. And she looks at the price of the steaks and she's like, oh man, she's like, remember when food was affordable? And I said, yeah. And I said, the funny thing is people still don't know why it's gone up like this. And she goes, well, why has it? And I went, you don't know why our groceries have, like, inflation is what it is? And this, she's like, no. And I just sat there just like, people don't know this. Like, they really don't know what's been causing inflation and the way they print money and, all these added taxes and all. Like, really? You don't know?
It gets worse. It gets worse than that even. Like, we have, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah. We have people like Jagmeet Singh trying to blame it on the individuals who are creating the jobs, building the companies, doing the things. He's trying to convince people that we need to fight the CEOs. That's how our groceries are going to get cheaper. No. We may as well start asking who is Charles Galt now, and then just be done with it, right?
Yeah. And so, I really think that if these people aren't educated now, if they don't see what's happening now, and don't get me wrong, like, I hope I don't come across as arrogant when I say this, as though I've got all the answers. I don't. I have a lot of questions. I have a few answers and a whole bunch more questions.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that you look and you're like, you still don't see it. You still think all of this was a good idea. And it clearly is, because, like, they're celebrating this MP crossing the floor. They want another Liberal majority. They want it. And frankly, at this stage, I'm fine with it. Show us your cards, guys. Show them. Show them now, because we've got 9 months to get people over that line. 9 months, if the referendum's in October, like they're saying.
Well, so, we certainly have a lot of work to do. That's for sure. I'm gonna try and spend a lot more time focusing on these things and talking to people like you, who I stumble across your feed, and you're talking about Alberta independence. And I think it's important that we start having these conversations. Like, there's people that are still, there's the ones that just don't know. There's the ones that are insulated from everything that's going on and haven't felt it yet. Yeah. And as we progress, what you said, they're going to keep exposing the government. The federal government is going to keep exposing the reality that we need to leave. And things are going to happen where these people are going to start, they'll feel it, or they'll have a eureka moment. They're going to be like, oh, now what? But we have the what, and the what is an upcoming referendum. And the Alberta Prosperity Project, of course, is, Mitch just refiled the referendum question yesterday with Elections Alberta.
Yeah.
So within very short order, I'm thinking January 10th or 11th, we're going to start collecting signatures to get a referendum question on the table for fall, which is, I mean, this is huge.
Yeah, and anybody who thinks that the fight is going to get easier from here is dreaming in Technicolor. Like, just so everybody knows, I get frustrated when people try to convince people how great and easy this is going to be. Right? It's not. Like, you guys, this is our war. And it's really cool that we get to be a part of it. Like, normally people have to pick up guns to do something like this, right? Normally people have to lay down their lives to create change like this. We get to do it with our voices and our vote. And make no mistake about it, like, this isn't historical for Canada. This will change the direction of the planet. It is the biggest vote almost anywhere in the world has seen in at least the last 50 years, maybe the last 80. And I'll tell you why. And I know you know why, Chris, but for people that don't, when this happens, when this vote happens, it's going to be terribly difficult to put the pieces back together, right? Like, it's going to be very, very difficult to rebuild this new country that we've got. All of our infrastructure, all of the systems we have, everything, our currency, it's all got to get torn down and built back up. And any one of those things is a monumental job. And we're going to have to do all of them at once. Like, it is going to be painful once this thing happens. It's going to be painful. But the reward is extraordinary. What the reward is we get to show the world what this looks like. Because right now, what we're trying to build doesn't exist anywhere on earth. And the reason I know that is because you and I guarantee you, Chris, I guarantee you, you've thought about it with your family. And the thought is, where do we go?
Yeah.
Like, where do we go? And like, a lot of people say, oh, I would move to Texas. Well, yeah, Texas is one election away from going right back to craziness, right?
There's nowhere left.
There is nowhere on earth that fits for people like you and I. And there are like billions, there's hundreds and hundreds of millions of people on earth who think the way we do. And I'm not saying I'm right. I mean, this is right for me, right? One of the things I always talk about with values is values are personal. Chris, if you value apple juice and I value orange juice, it doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong. It means these are the things that are important to you. These are the things that are important to me. Well, there's a lot of people like you and I who feel like we don't have a home. We don't have a place to be us because there's nowhere on earth that allows our values to drive the bus. We've got them here in Alberta, but we've got our country with their boot on our neck. So we can't be us. If and when this passes, if and when we do all that work that will take to rebuild it, and it's going to be the hardest thing any of us have ever done. But the reward is we get to show the world this is what it looks like when it's done. This is what it looks like. This is a haven for people like us, and it doesn't exist anywhere else. And then what happens is other countries, other places in the world look and go, well, yeah, we can do it. We can do this. The same way when I was looking at driving myself out of the ditch, the only reason I knew that I could was because I followed somebody else up the mountain. Because that's how people climb mountains, Chris. They don't climb mountains because they do it on their own. They do it because someone else did it first. Because if you look at the mountain from the bottom, you look and you go, how the hell am I going to climb this? I'm not going to be able to climb this mountain. But the way you did is because you watched somebody else chart the path and they figured out the way to go. And then so you don't even think of it as climbing a mountain. All you do is think of it as following the footsteps of somebody else. That's what we're doing. We're the first ones up the mountain. We're the first people that get to climb the mountain. And then other regions in the world, other countries, other provinces, other states, other whatever can look and go, don't tell me we can't do it because they did. And we're like them. We can climb this mountain. They've already showed us how.
Yeah. You talk about it's not going to be easy. There'll be a little bit of pain. And I completely agree. There are things that we're working on to try and mitigate that, like things that we know we have to do. We're already thinking about them. And when I say we, I'm talking about the movement in general. But something that occurred to me a while ago was that we're slowly moving into a situation where it's becoming more and more painful. The water's getting hotter, right? We're not going anywhere good. The trajectory this country is on and this province is on, if it stays with it, is going to somewhere that's going to be very painful. The difference is, once we get to a certain point, assuming that we have a prime minister who believes that the ordinary people need to make sacrifices of their rights and freedoms so that everyone else can survive, which we do, we get to a place where it's no longer viable to try and stand on your own.
Correct.
We lose the ability, we lose the voice, we can't bring people. It took Poland, how 20 or 25 years or something like that to get out from under the boot of communism, get out from behind the Iron Curtain by handing out pamphlets because they didn't have the capability to do these things. So if we let this go too far, we're going to go through the pain for sure, but it's going to be way, way harder, maybe impossible to get out of it.
And that's why people end up quitting their jobs or leaving their marriage or that and that. They get to the point where it's not going to be easy either way, but one is certain doom and the other, there's actually a reward on the other end of that pain. And that's where we are.
And people always say, well, what if? Okay, yes, it is an unknown. Alberta becomes an independent nation. We don't know exactly how it's going to go. We can start with a really good constitution that we write, looking at constitutions from all over the world and give ourselves the best foundation for freedom and prosperity that any country ever has had. We could do that. We don't know if the people are going to continue to protect their freedoms and fight for what's right. We don't know that. But what we do know is our current trajectory, right?
Correct.
The unknown in this case, it's like the unknown is less scary than the known. It's like when I went along for a year with my restaurant, closing and putting up the bulletproof shower curtains and all these things, right? And it got to the point where the prospect of the known, which was I was going to lose everything if something didn't change, was way scarier than the prospect of the unknown. I'm going to stand up against the government. What's going to happen to me? Well, you know what? I don't care because it's the right thing to do. And what the alternative is way worse. That's the way it was for me. And I think that's the way it is for a lot of people with Alberta independence.
Yep. That's it. You nailed it. That's it.
And if
like
that's the case,
it's like that line, Chris, you know that line do you ever watch the Avengers movies? Like all the,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, that line when they're asking Captain America if they're going to win. And he said, well, yeah, because I can't imagine what happens if we don't. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's it. Like, this is the crossroads for the country. And, I love what Tanya Clemens says, who's, for those of you who don't know, Tanya is one of the members of the Alberta Prosperity Project, amazing woman. She doesn't view this as destroying Canada. She views it as saving it, but what's left of it, right? Because the rest of Canada, they are what they are. They're not what we grew up with. It's just not. It's a different country now. It just is. As my mom used to say before she passed, she was a staunch NDP supporter. Her dad was an NDP MLA in Saskatchewan. He actually worked with Tommy Douglas and Alan Blakeney to get Medicare put in for the very first time. If you cut her, she'd have bled orange, but COVID woke her up. And she actually died a card-carrying member of the Conservative Party of Canada.
Wow.
Which is amazing. Because you know how rare that is for someone to go. But what she always said is, I didn't leave the left left me.
Yeah.
Right. But it's amazing how many people kept following down that path. And, I always laugh at the Nazi lines. Oh yeah, you guys are a bunch of Nazis. Well, did everybody in 1987, were they all Nazis in Canada? Because they're like, the vast majority of Canadians are way further right than we are, than even I am today.
Yeah.
Were they Nazis? Or were they just freedom-loving, good, God-fearing people?
Well, the left doesn't know the difference between those two things. They think that people who don't share their opinions, and the biggest one is we should be free to disagree.
Right.
They believe that those people are Nazis. I mean, they shot one. A man that was, he always talked about open debate, dialogue, don't stop talking because bad things happen. They killed him, of all people, because, man, they're so confused, or I don't want to use brainwashed, but like propagandized or something.
Yeah. They killed him because they couldn't win the debate. And that's why, I always giggle about, debating with some of my left-leaning friends. I've got some left-leaning friends that are actually they love the dialogue. They love talking to me about, like, they're genuinely trying to form their opinion, and they're still left leaning, but whatever. They're not like the jerks about it. But then there are others who, the reason that they won't even have a conversation with us is because they know that we're going to bring logic and facts, and they're going to bring rainbows and emotions. And so if we get into an actual conversation, any kind of a debate, they can't win because logic and emotions and lies doesn't beat facts. That's why they killed Charlie. Because he would just unemotionally just sit there and just deliver fact and stat after fact and stat, and you couldn't beat him.
And then thank them and bless them for being there.
For the dialogue. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that event, that got a lot of people off the couch as well. Got a lot of people off the fence, because we saw that this has gotten pretty darn serious. I've been describing the social divide as like the Grand Canyon now. It used to be that our elections, we'd have a 65 or 70% win with the 30 or whatever percent loss, and we were mostly aligned on most things. And even the things that we weren't, we could still talk about them. We didn't pick our friends by who they voted for. It's not like that today. Like, this is some pretty serious stuff, and I think maybe even from both sides, there's this idea to dehumanize the opposing views so that it's okay if something happens to them. And people say, oh no, Chris, our side doesn't think that. Yeah, they do, because I've had lots of people come to my cafe and talk about how they wished a certain thing would happen to a certain ex-prime minister, So he's been dehumanized by our side as well. Yep. We're dehumanized by the left. And now all of a sudden it's okay to punch a Nazi or look at the people that got fired in the United States for celebrating Kirk's death. Mm-hmm. It's a different world.
It's a different world. Yeah. But again, I'm grateful. Honestly, I'm grateful that they have the courage to show us who they are, right? The people that are celebrating his death. Thanks for showing me. Then the only question is, like that's that old saying, right? When somebody shows you are you smart enough to listen? They're showing us every day. Are we smart enough to listen? Okay, great. Now I know. Thanks for telling me.
Well, in the United States, I think like 150,000 people lost their jobs for their anti-human rhetoric over that. So they really did. They really did find out. But we got to get back to a place where the idea of freedom actually means something, and not just free to share the same views. I hear it described in the United States all the time. Free speech doesn't mean, there's two types of speech: free speech or not free speech. If you ban a word, if you tell someone they can't say something hateful, you don't need free speech, because if you have to be protected against speech, it's not free, right? We're more concerned about canceling dialogue because feelings might get hurt than continuing the dialogue and agreeing to disagree.
Yeah. And the other thing that a lot of people seem to miss when it comes to free speech doesn't mean free of consequence, right? Like if one of your employees says something absolutely terrible and awful, doesn't mean they shouldn't get fired. Like, sure, fire them. If there's a business owner that says something absolutely terrible, he's waving a Nazi flag or something with pride, we have every ability to not support that person's business anymore and just watch them, lose their business because of that. That's fine. You have every right to vote with your dollar, to hire the people you want, to associate with the people you want. No problem with that. It's just not the government's job to decide.
Exactly.
That's not their job. And that's what I think scares everybody so much about these impending hate speech laws that are coming in. Well, who decides what's hateful? Who chooses that? Where's the line that, I don't know. I would rather society figure that out.
Yeah. And now it's another avenue to weaponize legislation to silence a specific group. So under the new legislation that's going to come in, I could be fined or whatever, jailed or something for saying something that's a truth of the Bible. And on the other side of that coin, somebody that believes the Quran, they could go to jail or be fined for something that they say out of the Quran if somebody else finds it hateful. And their metric for the bar is like something that is considered to create um I can't remember what it was, but it's such an objective thing. It's not, I don't even know how they could do it, and it's going to turn out badly. So point is, as an Albertan, I know I can't influence our federal government. I know I can't change the way they're going to vote in Parliament. And if that's the path they want to go down and I can't change it, then we need to get out of that. Plain and simple.
Yep. Yeah.
Plain
And
simple.
there's, you know, I'm grateful for the work that Danielle Smith is doing. You know, the left is really, the NDP is really upset about, you know, the use of the notwithstanding clause and things like this. I think we're all hoping that she uses the notwithstanding clause to protect us from Bill C9, the hate speech bill.
Everything. I wanted to use on every federal law from now on, notwithstanding clause.
But here's the danger of screwing it up here in Alberta. Do you think Nenshi would stop any of those things? Absolutely not. Absolutely. Like, they want these things. They're pushing for them. So, you know, don't even get me started on that one. But
you're not a fan of Nenshi?
Yeah, he's quite a guy.
I just saw a clip of him on Ryan Jesperson talking about how if there was an election today, the NDP would win. And I'm like, geez, you know, I kind of want some of what that guy's on, because he is right out of it. But there is something to it, because they created quite the divisive campaign by weaponizing unions and the left and the alphabet soup mob. So, you know, I don't think we're 100% in the clear, but I don't think they would win an election.
They got 44% of the last election.
Yeah.
Like so think about this. The Conservatives nationally, they had their highest percentage of the vote in like 40 years. It was like 42%. And we're celebrating this massive victory in Canada, like how many votes they got. He had 44 here in Alberta.
Conservatives are too busy arguing over the details that they can't work together for the cause. And that's 100%. Something that the left will always have over us, is that, you know, people that believe in Marxism really believe in the group over the individual, no matter what it is. So they'll set their things aside and completely walk off the cliff with everyone else just to be together.
It's the best part and the worst part about the way conservatives think is we are not slaves to our ideology. We're constantly looking for something better, and we constantly want to challenge our leaders and push in a healthy way. But that has the danger of making us less unified. The left doesn't answer. The left does what they're told. They don't ask questions. They don't argue with their ideology. They don't look to make it better. They just wait for somebody to tell them what to think. So as a result, they're far more unified than we are by nature.
Like herding sheep. And conservatives is like herding goats.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think we have a lot of work to. No, I know we have a lot of work to do. The petition for the referendum is just one step of many. Then we got to campaign for the referendum. Then we got to, you know, figure out what our constitution looks like. Then we need to hold elections again and have a government. So, folks, just please know this: you're going to be busy for the next 10 to 15 years. You're not going to be able to take your hands off the wheel, as I have and you have for probably decades when it comes to politics. You're going to have to be involved. And if you do, we're going to have a good outcome, because if you bring enough people, you win. But if you don't, we're not going to achieve the outcome that you and I desire. And it's going to be way, way harder to stop these types of things from happening in the future. So I think we should just learn to enjoy the work that we're going to do. It's super fun to go to the AGM. It's super fun to get involved in politics because you meet nice, interesting people. It's super fun to do podcasts and talk about these things with people from all over the country and all over the world. And if we can find the joy in our new tasks, it's not going to be work, and we can get it done with a smile on our face. And that's what I'm going to do.
I love it. Yeah. And one of the things that I know we're running out of time here, Chris, but one of the things I really want to get people thinking about is, so that the signature gathering is about to start here. And so I think it's, we have to gather 178,000 signatures. I think that's the number, right? 178,000 or something like that.
That's the technical number. I want to see 1 million, but the technical number
I was going to say, yeah. I think that if you've already made up your mind on this and you're ready to sign this, one of the other things that group that hasn't decided yet, one of the other things that they need to see is evidence that we can win. People want to be on the winning side. That's a part of just human nature. If we can get to 1 million signatures, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to go, wait a sec, this might actually happen. All right, I'm going to be on the winning side here. And you can dismay that or not, or discredit that or not. It's the truth. It's human nature. People like to be on the side of the winner. So get that momentum, and then you'll see bigger names coming on board. You'll see more people coming on board. It's the first step to winning this thing is not the vote in October. It's getting 1 million signatures here in January and February.
I think 1 million signatures would get 3/4 of the UCP caucus on board publicly, for sure. There's something I want to discuss really quickly.
Sure.
Folks, as we go further into this, the attacks are going to be relentless. There's going to be people trying to deceive you. They're going to be maybe even sending people to your door to collect signatures. There is no petition right now. It's not on. The only thing right now that is legit is the intent to vote yes, that the Alberta Prosperity Project is compiling the database of people who intend to vote yes for Alberta independence. The reason for that is once we can do the petition, we're going to know who's there. And all we have to do is contact them and we can get the signature. Signatures will be collected by canvassers who are vetted by Elections Alberta with identification on proper Elections Alberta paperwork, not a piece of paper in a restaurant, nothing else. So if you sign something, be diligent and know who is collecting the signatures and for why, because there is no petition right now. It's not going to be rolled out till probably the middle of January 10th, 11th, something like that. And if anyone's asking you to sign anything right now, they're simply building a database. Alberta Prosperity Project is building a database of people that they can contact to get their signatures. Other people are building databases to create political parties or to sell your email or who knows what. But just pay close attention to that. And with that, if you got a couple minutes, maybe just tell people a little bit about your podcast, where they can find you, that kind of thing. And then we'll let you get back to your day.
Yeah, appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I just started on Twitter, all Army of Great Men. My podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Please subscribe. And actually, if the latest episode is one that I think you're going to be really blown away by, it's the story of what's happening in British Columbia right now with the land rights, who owns what. I interviewed
the land giveaway. Yes.
Yeah. I interviewed one of the top lawyers who works in the Indigenous space in Canada, a guy named Tom Isaac, who he speaks in a way that everybody should be able to hear, left, right, center, everybody everybody should be able to hear the way he is saying this without, getting your shirt in a bunch. And next week I'm interviewing Blaine Aiken. Do you know Dr. Blaine Aiken, Chris?
Yeah, I do.
So this guy, he's become a friend of mine. He's a fantastic human being. He was the one who wrote the report for Danielle Smith and the government of Alberta about how COVID was handled. And so he's going to come and share the mistakes we made, the things we did right, the consequences for those mistakes. And it's, again, those two in particular are ones everybody should see. And then also, if you want to share with people, if you want to share the dangers of socialism and where it can go. Last year, I interviewed a friend of mine, a guy named Esteban, who lives here in Edmonton now. He's an accountant here in Edmonton. He grew up in Venezuela and lived through the fall of Venezuela. And if anybody doesn't know that story and you think that socialism is something that is just okay, Venezuela in less than a year, their currency went from the equivalent of $1 million US was worth less than 1,000. and 7 million people walked out of the country on foot. And when you
I
listen
watched that. I was there for that.
You were there.
I was in Colombia, and when I drove to work, I watched those people walking. They took over, parts of the towns that we were in. It was wild.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And what's crazy about it is when you watch the episode, like when I was recording it and hearing the steps that it took to go down this road, everything he said, I was thinking, wait, we're doing that. Wait, we're doing that. And you start going, box, check, check, check. And you start checking the boxes and you're like, wait a sec. Like, we're not doing it as quickly as they did, but it's the same script. You watch that, like, this is one of the things that makes it easy to manipulate the population is when they lose sight of history. And what happened in Venezuela isn't ancient history. This is like 20 years ago. Like, this is yesterday. And nobody knows the story. Like, nobody knows it. They have the largest oil reserves on planet Earth in Venezuela. They have more than Saudi Arabia, and the country is bankrupt.
And like 40% of their country is coastline. So they have tidewater access. They have everything. They can grow food 365 days a year. Lots of people. Yeah.
They should be the richest country on earth, and their currency is worth zero. They don't have currency.
Yeah. No,
great social programs.
Yeah. That story is pretty wild. I share that in my APP talks every once in a while because, I'll never, ever forget that. I'll never forget driving to work, and all of a sudden this little piece of jungle's cleared out a little bit, and there's tarps here and tarps there. People are like building stick shacks. And then the next day there was the road to the area where the rigs was I don't know, 15K or something like that. But off the highway, there would be young girls seated on both sides of the highway, like, half a dozen of them every day, sitting there waiting for men to pick them up, because that's how they were supporting themselves at the time. Like, it was surreal. It was like something out of a movie. Wouldn't have believed it if I
everybody says it couldn't happen here. Well, you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll let you get on with your day. I'm going to go have some lunch at the Whistle Stop Cafe in Mirror, Alberta, because it's got the best food in central Alberta. And that's where I generally eat, which is why I'm so chubby, by the way. Thank you very much, Adam, for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to trying to get through some of your content and check out more of it, because everything I see so far, I really like. I really appreciate your perspective, and I appreciate that you're trying to build something by doing the right thing. It's uncommon these days, so thank you.
Well, and thank you for the same. Your work through COVID gave a lot of people like me hope that there are people brave enough to do it, and the work you're doing now is the same. So I proud to call you a new friend, and hopefully we can break bread together soon. But thank you and your listeners for supporting all this stuff, and yeah, hopefully I can make lots of new friends through what we just did here today. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, don't forget, head over to Adam's page. I linked to his YouTube there. From his YouTube, you're going to find everything else. Give him a follow, give him a like, share his stuff, and we'll just keep pounding the pavement and getting these conversations out until the entire province is ready to make a positive change. And we're going to do it soon. Thanks again. Thank you for the kind words, and we'll catch up with you later.
Sounds good.
Well, there you go. Adam Derges, the Army of Great Men podcast. There's always an interesting story behind all of these folks who kind of go from just average, normal, everyday person to somewhat of an internet celebrity. And it seems like some people, it just happens overnight. I believe the reason for that is because a lot of us are thinking things, we're feeling things, and we don't quite know what it is until somebody says something and we're like, I get it now. And then we watch their stuff when we share it because we want other people to understand. And that's what's happening with people like Adam's podcast and, Alberta Proud Dad and a lot of these guys. People want the truth. They want to hear raw conversations with real people, tired of being lied to by the media. There's that video floating around where it shows the one news anchor saying something, and then it shows two and they're saying the same thing, and then four, and then eight, and then eventually it's this gargantuan mosaic of news anchors, and in this oddly demonic sounding unified voice are all saying the same thing to make you believe the same thing. We see what's going on, and we're done with it. And now we're going to use our own voices because we don't need the news. And with that, I'm going to play that little clip from our friends at the Rise of Alberta again, because it's just absolutely fantastic. And it makes me feel like, or it gives a visual representation to how I feel about the idea of Alberta independence. So stay tuned for that, and we will see you later. I'll let you know, hopefully a day in advance, who the next guest is going to be, but it's going to be a good one. Catch you later. That's when people can see you.